So, are you recording?
Yes, I'm recording, Rue.
You're recording. Okay, cool. Because I want to make sure you're recording.
Yes.
Because if we're not recording at the same time, that'd be kind of strange, wouldn't it?
Yes, that would be strange. I am recording with my software.
Okay, good. Because I am too, and that'd be a good thing. Because
That's good. It's a good way for people to hear us.
yeah, to have a PCast where we're actually recording as opposed to just talking and no one's able to hear it. That would be kind of pointless.
Yeah, that would be kind of pointless. Just kind
Mm-hmm.
of like this conversation that we're having right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling. Yes, I am your host. I am Rue, and with me, as always, is your friend and mine.
Oh, this is Archie, and I'm very excited about this. Mainly because I'm very, very tired right now. I have run on like 4 hours of sleep from the past few nights, so but Rue and I are not going to have any time to really get together and do this in the next couple of days. So tonight was basically the night to do this. So yeah, but I'm still excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be going on a trip to Anaheim because my wife and my son and I are going to be taking a trip to Disneyland, our first time. So we're very excited. We're a little nervous because the trip is kind of far for us, but we're going to make it work.
There you go. How dare you spend time with your family?
I know, right? I mean, come on, Oof. No, it's cool. It's good. We're going to have a lot of fun. But, yeah, this is our second episode. I hope everyone really enjoyed the first episode because we definitely had a good time.
I hope everybody enjoyed it too.
Yeah, and we've actually been getting a lot of followers on Twitter, and we want to just thank the fans and thank the supporters and the followers for having our backs. It's really great. It's really awesome to see that kind of support. A lot of people on YouTube are actually friending us on or following us on Twitter. It's just awesome. So thank you so much for being there for us because we're having a lot of fun. And even if we didn't have anyone listening, we'd still be doing this because we're just two guys having fun.
Yes, and we're gluttons for punishment.
We really are.
Even if nobody listens to this, we just do this just for the sake of doing this, So, anyways, Rue, what do we have on the table for our listeners today?
Well, actually, you got some pretty big news lately. We've actually been hearing lately about a wrestler who recently signed with the WWE that everyone's been saying is like, oh, it'd be so great if he got signed. And his name is Sting. Steve Borden, if you will. And they announced that he got signed. They actually announced it through the WWE Network. And then we didn't hear anything for like weeks until a couple days ago. They released the first commercial for the WWE 2K, is it 15 video game?
Yeah, 2K15, yeah.
Yeah, and lo and behold, who is basically the face of the video game, but Sting himself.
Yeah, well, he's not really. I wouldn't call him the face of the video game. He's a pre-order bonus for it. I mean, John Cena is the cover boy for WWE 2K15. So they're pretty much John Cena is pretty much the spokesperson for the game, but Sting is the pre-order bonus, which is still a huge deal.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, last year the pre-order bonus was Ultimate Warrior, and think about who really thought that the Ultimate Warrior was really going to be a part of, you heard about all that falling out, between Vince and Ultimate Warrior, and he did really, sure he was in WWE All Stars, but I didn't really think that they were gonna ever bring him in to put a lot of focus. Hey, if you get our game, you get the Ultimate Warrior, and everything. It's a big deal, for Sting to be a part of this pre-order bonus, specifically because he is basically the last holdout from WCW that never signed with the WWE.
Yep, that's correct.
And he, and I read an interview today, that somebody had with Sting, and Sting just says, this is a long time coming. And he said, this is something I've always wanted to do. It just has never worked out for both sides. And finally, I'm excited, that it has worked out for both sides. And finally, we get to play as Sting, not as a not as a a CAW from that like the community has created.
Right.
We will finally get a proper entrance. We'll finally get proper entrance music without having to rip it to our systems. We'll finally be able to get a proper Scorpion death drop in the game, which all these other ones that they've put in the game, you can kind of work your way around a Scorpion death drop in the game, creating one or whatnot. But it's just not the same as Sting, behind, grabbing the hair, pulling the head back, kind of just staring at you before he grabs your head and drops you to the mat. So I'm not excited at all, as you can tell.
No, not at all. No. Yeah, and you could talk about like John Cena being on the cover of the video game, but in all honesty, I think the hardcore fans especially are going to buy this game because Sting is going to be in the game. I mean, he's the biggest selling point in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it is. It is a big selling point. When I saw the commercial, I was watching Raw when they debuted the commercial for it, and it just it gave me goosebumps. Listen to the violins, playing the strings, playing his theme, and that was the theme I was hoping that they were going to put in. I was like, yes, please put that theme in there, the crow theme, because that was awesome. I loved that theme from when he was the Crow Sting, and also the fact that we are getting the Surfer Sting gimmick too,
yes.
Which is really, really cool because that was, more when I was a child, when I, growing up, that's the Sting that I remember. As a teenager, he was the Crow Sting.
Yes.
Which was still really cool. But I'm wondering, what entrance music are they going to use for the Surfer Sting? Is it going to be Man Called Sting?
That's a really good question.
I am. I'm really interested in knowing what theme that they're going to use for the surfer gimmick. So I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. They might actually just give him some generic music. Just for the sake of getting him in the game. That's probably what's going to happen.
I don't know. I think Sting being in the game is too big a deal for them to give him generic music. They're not going to be like, here, pre-order WWE 2K14, you get Sting and some generic music. That that wouldn't be a true pre-order bonus for me. I'd be like, yes, sweet, I get Sting, and then he comes out to some stupid little, meaty theme or something like that. I'm like, okay, this is a letdown. I highly doubt that they're going to do something like that. But it bodes the question now. All right. He is part of the video game world now of WWE. When is he going to make his debut on TV?
That's a very big question. I mean, even Vince McMahon, who has a Twitter account, but from what I've seen, he doesn't really tweet that much. He actually tweeted today. If I'm mistaken, let me see if I can find the actual tweet, so I'm actually going to reference it properly.
Yeah.
He said...
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he says, let's see here, I'm pulling it up right now. Something about art imitating life. He's referencing the video game, and I believe the words were, it's right here. Here it is. I'm pulling it up right now. Oh, come on. Okay, it's it's not here. It's something about art imitating life, and he's referencing the video game. So even Vince is being all coy about exactly when Sting is going to make his entrance into the WWE.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's, the thing is I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. I think, oh man, it's hard to speculate on when, but honestly, the interview that I read earlier, Sting said, because I asked him, they said, how many more matches do you have in you? They said, how many more matches do you have in you? And he said, one more. He said, I have one more in me. And he came out and said he wants to wrestle The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. Mm-hmm. He said that's what he wants to do. And he said he's got one more match in him. That's the one he wants to go out on. Which makes you think, he could be a non-TV personality, but what is he going to do up until then? Let's say, they're still waiting word on if Undertaker is going to be able to do WrestleMania 31. They're looking at what his health is right now, and who knows what it is. But the thing is, like, if Sting is to debut on TV, what are they going to do from now? Let's say he debuts at like SummerSlam or something like that. I'm just throwing something, out there from left field. If they want to put him on TV at like SummerSlam, just to say, hey, Sting's here, he's in the company, bam. What does he do until, possibly hearing if Taker's going to be around or not? You can't just throw him in like some stupid program. To bring him in, you got to put him something meaningful right away.
Right.
Otherwise, I think you just kind of, it's a wasted debut. And this is a big deal. I mean, I don't know if people really understand how big of a deal this really, really is for him. To finally be a part of this company. It's huge.
Yes. I gotta say, as I am such a fanboy of Sting, and have been for so long, that to me, anything short of, like, if he's not going to get a chance to wrestle The Undertaker, anything short of him being a world champion is going to be a big letdown for me. That's how big of a fan I am.
So you think that he needs to have a world title win?
It doesn't make sense. I mean, the man is getting older. Obviously, he's used to working a reduced schedule because TNA. He's been working with TNA for so long, and I've seen his ring work. It's not as good as it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But because of the name, because of I don't know. I mean, he's such a legend. He's such a legend to me that anything short of a world title run would be, I don't know, just be a travesty. I mean, this is a signing that's 20 years too late, in my opinion.
I mean, it really is. This is something that should have happened a long time ago when WWE bought WCW. Mm-hmm. They should have been able to work something out then. And even back then, this is going back to this interview that I read. I wish I remembered where I read this at, because it was just earlier today, I was reading this. They asked him about, what happened way back, then, and he said that he had, when he was when WWE bought WCW, Sting's contract was still with like AOL and like Time Warner. His contract was still with them, and he had a lot more time left, so he had to wait until his contract with them was up. And he said once that happened, him and Vince had talks. He said, and his talks with Vince were very, very good. But he said, but once the lawyers got involved, that's when everything fell apart. It's like him and Vince had great talks and kind of knew what they wanted to do. But then, of course, the lawyers had to, once the lawyers got involved, that he said that's when things went bad. And so it was just like, he did some okay work in TNA. I didn't really watch a whole lot of it, just because honestly, I just can't get into TNA, I just really can't. But the thing that to me makes this a big deal is Sting is an icon, and he made it without the help of Vince McMahon and the WWE.
Yes.
He did it on his own. He became a big star without being on the main stage. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that says something.
I agree with you on a certain degree. He made it on his own without being on the big WWE stage.
Yeah.
However, in terms of his body of work, he also worked with some of the best workers when they weren't working for WWE.
Oh yeah. I completely agree with you. I mean, he's worked with, Ric Flair. I mean, he's worked with Hogan. He's worked with all the big stars. He's worked with, all them, and he's had great programs with, some of those guys.
Yes.
But he's one of those guys that that can say, Vince McMahon did not make me. He did not make me a star. Think about all those guys that he had great programs with. Vince McMahon made Hulk Hogan. Vince McMahon, made Ric Flair. That's,
Ooh, that's a little difficult to say there, man. Vince McMahon making Ric Flair? I'd say Vince McMahon made Bret Hart.
Okay, Bret. Yeah, I forget. Yeah, okay. I'll retract my Ric Flair one. All right, I'll retract that. But
I don't mean to be like antagonistic, but it's like Ric Flair was huge.
Yeah,
especially when they signed him in '91. But
he was already. Sometimes I forget. Those wrestlers jump ship so often. I can't remember who they started with. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying. Without the influence of Vince McMahon, Sting has done remarkably well as becoming a legend.
Yeah.
And for crying out loud, I mean, he became a legend essentially that everyone's just like, what would have happened if he signed with Vince back in his prime?
Yeah.
And
at that time though, it makes me wonder because look what Vince did with all the the WCW talent, that did come in, off from the buyout. Not a whole lot of them did a whole lot of anything, so
no.
I think that I don't know if it would have worked out the way we all would have hoped it would, back then, if he was able to come at that time. But I mean, this is my feeling on it. Better late than never. It's sure he may be in his 50s now, and he may only have one more match in him. But you know what? The fact that last match is going out inside a WWE ring that's just icing on the cake for me.
Yes, and I'm trying really hard to be optimistic. Just because it should have happened so long ago.
Yeah, I mean it did. I mean it should have happened a long time ago. But at the same time, we just have to look at it we just
should have happened 6 years ago. 6 years ago when WWE went to a PG program. And I remember we were talking like, oh, Sting doesn't want to join the WWE because it's such the adult content. Just so adult oriented. And then they kind of scaled it back down to PG, setting. I was like, perfect. Yeah. Now Sting can come in and feel comfortable working. And it just still didn't happen. So here we are now. It's 2014, and and I want more than one match. I think that's why I'm so skeptical. I want more than one match from Sting.
Yeah,
I mean, want him to do a program,
as a fan, I do too. I do. I want one more. I want to see him. Work a couple. There's guys that I would love to see him work a program with, other than the Undertaker. Sure, I think Undertaker should be the very last match of his career. I think that's the way it needs to go out. But there are guys that I would love to see him have a program with. I'd love to see him wrestle like John Cena. I would love to see the Icon against the C Nation or whatnot. I think that they could have a great program together.
I'd like to see Sting face Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar. The thing, my feeling with Brock Lesnar is this, though. I have a fear that he's going to absolutely decapitate whoever he's in the ring with. Because it's just, he gave The Undertaker a concussion within the first few minutes of their match at Mania, which made the rest of that match at Mania completely lackluster because Undertaker was just not there, And so it just makes me wary, of, these older, the older guys, like if Sting were to step in the ring with him, it would just make me wary that, is he going to accidentally hurt him, But yeah, I mean, that would be something that I would love to see. I mean, just think
you talk about things that would draw money,
Yeah, I mean, it would draw
Sting versus
money.
Brock Lesnar, that's a dream match. I mean, to me, the ultimate Sting match will never happen because the guy I want him to face is retired and has been retired for a long time, and that's Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Man.
I've been dreaming about that for years, and when Shawn retired, I was like, well, there goes that idea, and...
But hey, we'll be able to do it in WWE 2K15.
yeah, we will. We sure will. I mean, just think about the current roster. Like, I mean, the current roster needs a boost, and for Sting to only have one match, to me, is like there's so much he could do with the current roster to really boost them up. I think he'd have a great program with Alberto Del Rio. I think he'd have a great program with Sheamus. And I'm high on both of those guys. A lot of people aren't, but I am. I think he would bring the best out of Damian Sandow. And just there are so many people that would benefit from working with someone like Sting, with his name and his ability to deliver, because he's still a good worker. It's just that his body is not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. I think especially with the personas. I think about Sting doing a program with Bray Wyatt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just the two personas. It's just, oh man, I just get goosebumps thinking about that stuff now. It's crazy.
The darkness fighting the darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, just the stuff that those two would be able to do. Yeah, it's just like the darkness versus the darkness. And it's just, oh man, it'd be nuts. It'd be freaking awesome though. I'd love it. So, but yeah. Anyway, what else do we have besides Sting was probably the biggest thing that happened this week. Just him being a part of the company. What else you got on the table for us today?
Bo Dallas on Raw was put over huge this past Monday.
All you gotta do is Bo leave.
A former world champion put over Bo Dallas big time this week, and that to me that shows the WWE product, or the WWE as a whole has high hopes for Bo. And they want to Bo leave, despite the fact he still ended up taking a huge chop at the end, but. He beat a world champion this past week. So
yeah, and I know what you're talking about too, and I'm not even going to get into that. But I mean, Bo Dallas, his character is absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It is so funny that it's just like, oh man! All right, I'm going back to 2 weeks ago when he wrestled El Torito.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, and after the match, he's doing his victory lap around the ring, and he just barrels him over. It just keeps going. That is perfect. It was so perfect. It was hilarious, and and when he just went up to Khali afterwards, he's like, "Hey, big buddy." It's just the way he talks, the way he's delivering, his lines, the way he's, cutting his promos is absolutely, it's pure gold. It's pure gold. It's magic, and they're really catching lightning in a bottle with him right now, and I really hope that it's not wasted.
I when he started getting over, I was kind of worried because I was just thinking, okay, they're really going for this, but are they going to go this by Fandango, or are they going to let this build? And it seems that they're letting it build, and you can tell that he and Bray Wyatt are related in real life because the natural charisma they both carry, not just in promos but in the ring. I mean, they're very entertaining people. Yeah, Bo Dallas is winning me over for sure.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical at first, on the gimmick, but because it's one of those gimmicks that's kind of been overdone a little bit, maybe not the exact same gimmick, but it's that cheesy heelish, type, it's been overdone, yes. But the way he's, delivering it's just spot on. It's so fantastic. It's kind of like Damian Sandow's character,
which they've ruined.
Oh, I know. They're I don't know what they're doing with him right now. It's like, okay, it's like Santino left, or Santino didn't leave, but he's not, he's retired from, active wrestling, and it's like now they're trying to find that person to kind of fill in his spot, that can do that comedy act, which Damian Sandow is. Don't get me wrong, he's great at it. But his character of that heel, of the savior of the unwashed masses, that guy, that's the Damian Sandow I want, because that is the Damian Sandow that I find entertaining. I mean, when he came out as Vince McMahon, okay, I thought that was hilarious. But I don't want to tune into Raw every week and saying, okay, what kind of stupid character are they going to have Damien Sandow come out as now? Mm-hmm. You know, I want him to. I loved it when he did his "You're welcome," you know, or "Silence."
Oh, I love that.
You know, it's just like, you know, because that character's been overdone. That gimmick's kind of been overdone before too. But again, it's all about how he's delivering that character, and I really hope that they kind of let him go back to doing what he was before, because that's what was working. That was what was getting people. That's what was getting him over. You know, and I don't know. I feel like, I'm with you. I feel like they're kind of ruining that.
I mean, it was a complete character. It's Damien Sandow's character with the robe and the towel, and you know, it just even what he wrestles in, you know, the tights and the white boots and everything, to the character where he's holding the mic like it's a wine glass. You know, it was a very refined character early on. And it's like they're tweaking it unnecessarily. You know, I mean, I looked at him and I saw the arrogance of Rick Rude, who is one of my favorite heels of all time, and the, I don't know, the ring work of, I want to say, Mr. Perfect almost. You know, it was very refined character overall, very early on in his tenure. And now you look at him now, you're like, well, this is the guy that they had win the Money in the Bank.
I know.
Contract, cash it in, and not even win the title. You know, what happened to that guy?
It's. I'm wondering the same thing too. I mean, I do have to say though, did you see when he came out as Paul Revere?
I did not see that actually.
He came out as Paul Revere, and I forget who he was wrestling that night. You know, he won his. I think he won. Did he win that match? I can't remember. But he came out. You know the elbow of disdain that he does.
Yes.
Before he dropped the elbow of disdain, he's like, "The elbow is coming! The elbow is coming!" And then he dropped the elbow.
What are they doing? That's so good. That's so natural.
I know. Oh. And I don't know. That to me, that looked like it was probably an off-the-cuff thing. You know, that he was just like, oh, that works. So I'm just going to throw it in there. But,
oh my gosh.
Find that sometime on YouTube and see if you can't watch that, because I was dying. I was laughing so hard when he did that. It was absolutely brilliant.
It might be on WWE Network, so
it might be. Yeah, gosh. Depending on what episode of Raw it was. I can't remember. It's got to be like 3-4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so.
It might be. Well,
yeah,
there's always a chance.
Yes.
That's so funny. See, that's what I'm talking about. Let them go. You know, it's just.
I know. Just let them do their thing, man. Don't mess with them. And that's what I mean. Like you said with Fandango, you know, he had such a great thing, you know, after WrestleMania with everybody, you know, dancing and everything. But then they had to put a name on it. They had to call it Fandangoing, and then they had to point it out. Then they had to have Fandango
every single time.
Yeah. Then they had Fandango point it out himself, which was a huge mistake. You know, he was a heel. He would never ask the crowd, "Do you all want to go fandangoing with me tonight?" He was a heel. You know, why? He's not supposed to care what the crowd thinks. Right. You know, and it just got ruined. And I was just like, I remember having this conversation with you. As we both said, you know, when this caught on, when everybody was dancing, we both said they better not even mention it. You know, just let it be and let it be its own thing. Don't try to push it on the WWE universe, because then they're just going to grow sick of it, and you know, let them grow sick of it on their own. You know, don't try to, you know, because if you push them into trying to do something and trying to like something, it's going to have the complete opposite effect.
Yeah, and you know what they did was, I don't know, it's kind of related to like PR, you know, like you want to get in front of a story so that way you're controlling it. That's exactly what they did in this situation. They try to get in front of this and try to be like, oh yeah, well we're referencing it now, so you guys got to love it.
Yeah, it was almost like this thing is like almost like they try to take credit for it being a big thing.
Right.
You know, and it's like no. the crowd in New Jersey came up with that all on their own. I don't know what you're talking about.
Those Jersey fans, they were crazy. I mean, nuts. How many times you and I were watching that video, like, Sheamus and Randy Orton couldn't get through their match without almost laughing because they're, like, taking over their match. They can't get through it because they're chanting Fandango.
They're chanting Fandango, they're dancing, they're chanting for everybody in the freaking arena, you know, I mean...
Besides the guys in the match, yeah. You know, it's like, what is going on here? And they ruined it. So, I don't know. Back to Bo Dallas, I hope they just let it naturally go.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like how they've done with Bray Wyatt. Because, perfectly honest, I mean, Bray Wyatt, I want to say like 20 years ago, wouldn't have gotten over.
No.
In my opinion. I mean, the curtain has been pulled back so far that we're now doing characters, well, they're doing characters now in the WWE that they're not trying to shove down our throats as much. You know, they're kind of seeing, is this going to catch up?
Yeah.
Which is what they did with Brodus Clay. You know, they kind of teased things here and there. They kind of let the fans decide what they wanted to do with it.
Right.
And eventually, the fans got sick of it. You know, it's kind of like Ryback. Ryback was pretty much just another Goldberg, you know, and
they still chant Goldberg during his matches.
You know, and the fans, you know, they enjoyed it. They got behind it. They did the chants, you know, the "Feed Me More," and you know, when he'd shake his shoulders and everything, they'd actually chant with him and everything. But eventually, they got sick of him.
Yeah,
and he can't even get over now as a heel, and that's a shame. I mean, I'm telling you, I would love to be a manager and do like go all Bobby Heenan and, you know, try to get Ryback over, kind of the way Bobby Heenan got so many guys over back in the day. Because that guy needs help.
How many guys?
He needs help. He can't.
How many guys did he not get over? I mean, that's just.
I know, right? You know, that's what Ryback needs now at this point, because the fans are not buying into him as a bully. They're not buying into him as a tag team wrestler. You know, just like he's a lost cause in my opinion, and that's a sad thing because he was actually doing pretty well for a little while.
Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing. That's. I'm almost wondering if they try to push him a little bit too hard too soon, you know, or because in my opinion, he was still kind of green, you know, and. I don't think that he was ready at that point, you know, when they were giving him his big push. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm taking a guess here, and I don't know if it was something that, because it was almost like the people were behind him 1 second, and all of a sudden, bam, nobody cared about him anymore. And it seemed to happen just like overnight. It wasn't this like slow drop off where, okay, they're kind of getting sick of what he's doing and they're kind of growing tired of it. It just seemed like, yeah, feed me more, and you suck, go home. You know, that's just, it seemed to just happen very, very quickly, and it just makes me wonder, you know, how did that happen so fast for him, where he was getting that big push and people were behind him. The fans were behind him, and then do you think it was his heel turn? Do you think that's what it was, that all of a sudden it was just like people didn't care anymore?
No, that's definitely not what it was. It was the fans noticed when they put him in there with people who could work, and they realized how much they were struggling to get a good match out of him. I'm mentioning CM Punk. I'm actually mentioning John Cena in that group, as well as The Shield.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he lost so many matches on pay-per-view in a row, but the problem was, you know, people were like, why are they burying Ryback? Well, the reason is that he couldn't work.
Yeah.
Like, if CM Punk is struggling to get a good match out of you, I mean, that tells you something. CM Punk can work with anyone.
Yeah. I
mean, he made The Rock look like $1 million, and The Rock was struggling. CM Punk is the Shawn Michaels of this era, and unfortunately, he's not going to be there any longer. And but he struggled to get right back to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, the thing is, like, I think once he started losing, you know, all those like pay-per-view matches, like right in a row. I mean, it was just like, you know, he couldn't buy a win. You know, it was one after another. I think, you know, I think as a fan, you kind of look at him losing over and over again and saying, okay, so obviously the company doesn't have any faith in him because they're booking him to lose. And if you book somebody to lose, time and time again, eventually I think the fans are just going to be like, he's not a big deal. Once you start jobbing out the people, it's just, I don't know.
Well, there's also the thing is that, if the company doesn't have faith in you, it's also under the wrestler's control to actually show that they can still perform and deliver despite the cards they're being dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Dolph Ziggler. The fans are very supportive of him.
Yeah.
The fans want to see more from him. The company does not have any faith in him. They keep burying him. And he's having spectacular matches.
Yeah.
He's been doing it consistently for years. I mean, I saw a match with him and Kofi Kingston. And if Kofi is struggling to keep up with Dolph, that tells you something.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, this is my thing with Dolph Ziggler. All right, I love Dolph Ziggler. I think he's probably one of the best workers in WWE today. I think if not, I mean, he probably works harder than anybody else. Mainly because he's a small guy too. So I mean, he's got to work harder than everybody else. But
yeah.
But it's not his wrestling ability that comes into question at all. To me, I think it has everything to do with. He's got the charisma. He's got all that stuff. But at the same time, I think it's his mic work. That to me seems to be kind of like his one downfall. And then people can be like, "Oh, well, Daniel Bryan, he's not good on the mic either." You know what? You're right. But he had the yes chance, which was still something.
Mm-hmm.
It was still something. And to me, Dolph Ziggler doesn't have that one, I hate to say it, catchphrase, or anything, but it just seems, people love Dolph Ziggler because he's a good wrestler, because he puts on a great show. He's entertaining in that aspect. But at the same time, he doesn't have that one intangible that's going to push him over the edge right now. And he needs to. Like I said, that's not a knock on Dolph Ziggler because I love the guy. And I would love to see him get a good push, and I would love to see him have a world title reign. Hello?
At least a good.
Okay, you're just kind of silent there for a second. I was like, "Where'd he go?"
Yeah. I thought you were still going to go, and I thought you were taking a dramatic pause. So, anyway,
well, it was dramatic.
Well, I mean, we're sometimes we Shatner it up. So, anyway, I can see your point there. I mean, he doesn't have, like, the one catchphrase or the one thing that sticks out, but there have been plenty of wrestlers that have gotten over based on just their work, They weren't good on the mic particularly, but they got over because their work was consistent, and I've never... Okay, I can't say I've never seen a bad Dolph Ziggler match, but I've never seen him be the one to drop the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
I will say that.
I mean, it's true, but think about this, though. What era was this? What era are you talking about where the guys got over based on their work? It's a different day and age now.
Well, the one name, and I hate to say it on our second podcast, considering we could spend an entire podcast talking about this guy, Chris Benoit.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible mic work.
Oof.
Horrible mic work.
Yeah.
He never got good with it. He never spoke well. It just seemed like, I think it was more like a personality thing, Like, he was charismatic, he worked really well in the ring. It's just that it never came out in his words.
Yeah.
And so he kind of worked for years and years and years before he got the recognition of being a world champion.
Yeah.
But he did it, and people bought into it and people believed in it because he was that good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the way up until the day he died, people would watch his matches and say, "This is the kind of match I want to have."
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Like,
at the same time, but people started believing in him and following him right from the get-go, and plus it was a different day and age, wrestling back then than it is now. I mean, it's nowadays it's so much a lot of flash. It's a lot of and it's just like most people. If you see some guy step in the ring and he's a great wrestler, but with no personality. Nothing that's going to get the crowd going, as far as, a whole lot of flash. I think it's going to be hard for that person to get over just based on their work alone.
One name that actually comes up right now to me, Roman Reigns.
But
he doesn't have really good mic work.
I understand. I understand where you're going with Roman Reigns. But think about it this way. But he just wasn't on his own, though. He was with two other people. Mm-hmm. And so it was Roman Reigns. If without the Shield, at first, I don't think Roman Reigns would be as big as he is. That's my opinion. I think he's better now because of the Shield. I think because that he had Dean Ambrose, because he had Seth Rollins there, who knew how to, the mic workers, who knew how to talk, who have that charisma, that's Roman Reigns was the muscle of the group, obviously, and but I think because he was in that group alone, he's a star now, and but I think that if he was just coming up just on his own, he wouldn't be as big a star as he is right now.
Well, okay, well then, I see your point, but look at Dolph. He was with Vicky Guerrero, If you can't get any more as a heel that way, I mean, holy crap! I mean, she was everyone had vile feelings toward her since the minute she became a heel, up until the day she left. And then after that, he was with AJ Lee and Big E. I mean, Big E's the star he is now because of Dolph Ziggler, in my opinion. And. It's not like Dolph Ziggler was on his own.
Yeah, I mean, it's I know he's not on his own, and I can't even remember where we're going with all this. Because,
you're saying that Roman Reigns got over because he was with other people, who probably were better on the mic. Well, Dolph Ziggler was actually around other people who, were pretty good on the mic and a pretty good presence, so he wasn't by himself, He actually had a good support group behind him. I mean, look, let's call it what it was. The cheerleaders, the Spirit Squad, wasn't a great start.
All right, but I mean, think about it this way, though. I mean, Dolph Ziggler, do you think that if he didn't have those mouthpieces with him, that he would have gotten over as he is now?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
I firmly believe it. I think that being with AJ, being with Vicky, and Big E, I think that helped. But I think he's got the natural charisma. I think he's got the work rate to be able to get over on his own.
Yeah, well, that stuff's never in question, and like I said before, I'm not knocking on Dolph Ziggler. I love Dolph Ziggler, and like I said, I want him to get a good push, and it's because of those things that you said, it's because his work rate. It's because, that he does have that charisma. He's got that Shawn Michaels charisma in the ring. It's because of that stuff that I personally love Dolph Ziggler. But not everybody is going to see it the way that we see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it also matters of who you piss off backstage.
Yes.
It really does. If Triple H doesn't like you, if Michael P.S. Hayes doesn't like you, if Gerald Briscoe doesn't like you, you're gonna have a hard time. There's a lot of people in the backstage that are actually determining people's fate. And I think a lot of people could see that when The Miz got a huge push.
Yeah.
Because, in all honesty, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure The Miz is a great person. I'm sure he's I'm sure he's dedicated to what he does. But let me tell you, I've never been impressed with his ring work, and I'm never impressed with his promos. Yeah. And the fact that he headlined WrestleMania one year still shocks me.
Yeah, I mean, it shocks me too, because, like I said, I mean, like you said, it's, he does a lot for the company. I know that he's a good ambassador for the company. I've never, up until now, all right, I'm kind of liking his Hollywood character right now. I don't know if you've seen, like his little kind of gimmick since he's been back. But I mean, his ring work is still the same. Like I said, I've never been impressed with his ring work. I don't think he will ever be one that'll have a 5-star match. But his gimmick right now is like he's the whole Hollywood, movie star, and he doesn't like to get hit in the face. So like he does like everything that he can to not get hit in the face. And so I mean that part is kind of entertaining, but I don't like his promos. He talks way too darn slow. I never was impressed with the really. I never really got that. But I guess when you, I don't know how he headlined WrestleMania either. I guess that's I'm with you. I don't know.
Well, the whole I don't want to get punched in the face thing, that he's doing right now. That's all well and good, but that's only short term.
Yeah, I mean it is. It is only short term.
It's not.
And
going
I guess
to last,
the reason why I like it, that I like that kind of gimmick right now is because it kind of takes me back to like, it reminds me of those old heels like back in the day. That didn't try not to get hit in the face or something, and then would take a cheap shot, and I don't know. It's just, it kind of reminds me of an old school heel, which I like. So
it's very model.
Yes,
Rick Martel-ish.
There we go. That's who I was trying to think of. Yes, it's very model Rick Martel. So,
who, by the way, is still one of my favorite characters from the old days.
He was such a fantastic heel, and he was given the crappiest gimmick, and he turned it into a solid gold turd. I mean,
it really did.
It really did. I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, I loved Rick Martel. Whatever happened to him anyway?
Oh, he retired. He got injured in a match with who did he get injured in a match? He got injured in a match with Booker T, if not mistaken, in WCW. Either Booker T or Saturn. It was a world television program that they had him work. He got injured, then he came back. He worked another match with Stevie Ray.
Oh,
and got
Stevie
injured
Ray
again, and then called it quits.
Oh man,
yeah,
Stevie Ray.
Yeah, he got. I can't remember exactly how he got injured, but I dare say it was taking the flapjack. I think that was Stevie Ray's finisher.
It was.
Oh god, that's such a horrible name.
Did he call it the slapjack or did he call it the flapjack? What was it? Is it slap or flap?
Slap. I think it was slapjack. I think you're right. It was slapjack.
Well, wasn't it like the pile driver thing, like the falling forward pile driver?
Yeah,
with the underhook.
Yeah, I think. Yes, and then I think Rick injured his knees. I think in that either that move or just that match, and he just called it quits after that because he's getting older and he keeps getting injured, and yeah. Or it's one of those situations where Eric Bischoff is like, you know what, you're injured, I don't need you, you're fired. Well, that kind of thing. I'm not sure exactly how it happened.
Well, I mean, come on, Eric Bischoff never did that to injure wrestlers in WCW.
No, certainly didn't do it to Steve Austin or Sean Waltman, who was 6 at the time. No, not even people who went on to great success.
Just craziness. Oh man, I don't know, dude. We could go on and on and on about all this stuff.
Yeah, it all started from Bo Dallas, and now we're talking about people that are getting pushed and then crumbled.
Hey,
later.
But it's all right. That's like I said. This podcast isn't always going to have the best structure, but we always hope that it's going to be entertaining, no matter what. And it's kind of good that we go off on tangents a little bit. That way we don't go through all of the material that we want to go through in just like 3 podcasts. Because then we'll be like, oh crap, well, what are we going to talk about now?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great topics coming up. I mean, I was still doing the planning for our retro episode because I'm really excited for that concept.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun.
But Oh god, it is going to be fun. There actually is a piece of news I want to share that was just shared to me by my wife just now. And I know we're coming up. Oh, it's only 50 minutes, so we have time to talk about this. There's a new sitcom called The Neighbors coming out in this September, and the man behind this sitcom is the same man that was behind the hit movie The Room.
Oh no!
Tommy Wiseau is going to be doing a sitcom. It's not wrestling related at all, but
We're just gonna slip it into the podcast anyway.
Archie and I are all about so many different things. Our interests are so wide. I mean, obviously, if you've seen our Put It Away videos, if you've seen our video game videos, you can tell that our interests are wide. Well, here's another thing. If you haven't seen The Room, starring, directed, produced, and written by Tommy Wiseau, watch it. And then you'll be able to understand how amazing it is that he's actually doing a TV show. So,
and I guarantee,
just throwing that in there.
And I guarantee if you do watch that show, if you do watch that movie, you will greet everybody with a, "Oh, hi, so-and-so."
Or you'll laugh as creepily as he does in the movie. I mean, Archie and I, we were doing that. Archie's wife, my wife was doing it. So yeah, she just shared that with me on Facebook, and I kind of had a moment that you can't see because this is a podcast. I kind of like freaked out a little bit. So anyway, what else happened this week in the world of wrestling? Do you have anything?
Dude, like I said, I was letting you take care of all that today since, my sleep schedule has been completely jacked up for the past, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you came with some of this stuff, but, it's all right. I mean, we can save some stuff for next time. And yeah, so we can probably call it good for this episode. If you are okay with that, Mr. Rue. You are the host.
I am. I am okay with that. I mean, WWE has a huge pay-per-view coming up this weekend called Battleground. Yes. Main event is John Cena versus Randy Orton versus Kane versus Roman Reigns on the Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know what else is on the card, but
and other wrestling is on the card.
Well, yeah. So the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal is going to happen because
Paige versus AJ Lee for the women's titles is on that card too. So
yes. Oh yeah. Don't dismiss women's wrestling. It's starting to pick up with women like Paige and AJ Lee taking the forefront. It's actually being very entertaining, very technical. So I mean, I've had a huge criticism for women's wrestling for a very long time. It's actually starting to pick up now. So that actually is a featured match on the pay-per-view.
And make sure that and for those of you who don't know now, you can catch the pay-per-views now on the WWE Network. So make sure to catch it this Sunday, and we will probably be talking about it next week. Next week, whenever we are able to do this again, we will be giving our impressions on Battleground pay-per-view, and also more than likely giving our impressions on the Raw afterwards. So,
yes, absolutely. I mean, oh man, there's so much been happening. There's one more piece of news I completely almost forgot to mention. WWE finally moved CM Punk off the active roster list and put him on the alumni page. Yes,
they did. I saw that, and I expected it. I was hoping that maybe something could be worked out, but you know what? If CM Punk is happy and he's doing what makes him happy right now, then, I mean, who can fault him for that? So I'm very happy for him if, that he's doing the things that he loves to do and whatnot. And I'm sure that if he came back and said, "Hey, I want to come back," I'm sure that Vince would gladly open the doors back up for him. So
it would take a lot, though, considering the way Vince McMahon does tend to hold a grudge, and who's to say that by the time he comes back, Vince is not going to be running the show? I mean, the McMahons, Stephanie and Triple H are running the show pretty well. I mean, they're they're controlling a lot and they're making it their own, and so it's going to be one of those things. I mean, we heard rumors that Triple H was upset with the way CM Punk left, so I hope the door is open for him to come back. I mean, I understand his contract is up this month.
Yeah.
So
just a few days.
There's a lot of questions going on. Oh wow. Yeah, there's a lot of questions about that situation. I mean, if he never comes back, I have to say, I mean, his body of work is something that most guys would never dream of.
Yeah, the things that he accomplished during his time, in WWE is fantastic. He accomplished a lot in such very little time, and that's I mean, shoot, I mean, he was WWE champion for freaking how many days? I mean,
400 plus days. I mean, he was the longest running champion of this era, and that's a big deal considering how long John Cena was champion in 2006 to 2007. I mean, you're talking a guy that the company put a lot of stock into, and you end up having really good matches with John Cena. I mean, how many people can say they worked with John Cena and The Rock and The Undertaker, and Batista, and the Great Khali, and JBL, like all these great legends in such a short period of time, No, not a lot of people can say that. Yeah. Or Brock Lesnar, he had a great match with Brock Lesnar.
He did.
And so it's and Daniel Bryan, it's kind of sad, to see it end the way it did, but in all honesty, I mean, CM Punk's going to do the way things he has always done.
Yeah, I mean, and that's he's always ever done things just, the way that he wanted to. Like, which is good for him. I mean, good for him, for always doing things, the way he wanted, and didn't let people push him around, so, I commend him. My hat's off to him. I hope to see him back someday. But if not, then he had a great career, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it'd be a shame to see that his career is completely over. I'd like to see him continue it on Ring of Honor or go back to Japan. There's a lot of great wrestlers that came from Japan, and WWE just signed Kenta, so it's kind of strange because Kenta is actually the originator of GTS. If I'm not mistaken. So
I noticed that. I remember I was like, oh, how ironic. CM Punk's gone and now Kenta's in, who uses CM Punk's finisher, or vice versa. I was like, huh. So, but anyway, yeah, I do hope to see him back, but if he doesn't, then that's all right too.
Yeah, it is all right. I mean, there really isn't anything else for him to accomplish on the big stage anyway.
No, there really isn't. He's accomplished it all, and I'd love to see him come back and mentor some of the younger guys, and then teach them the stuff that he learned while he was there. So, but maybe as time goes on, he'll that's something he'll want to do, but only he knows that.
Yeah, only he knows that. I mean, he's happily married now, which, if you've seen his documentary, you never would actually imagine that would happen, but, he's married to AJ Lee, so he's always going to have a tie to the WWE, so we'll see, best of luck to him. Always been a fan since the first time I saw him. Really started to appreciate his work when he was part of the Straight Edge Society, when he was running that.
Pure gold.
Oh my gosh, some of the best things I've seen in recent times was from when he was in the Straight Edge Society. Good. So if CM Punk, if you're listening, which would be quite flattering, I'm not gonna bet on it, but we're huge fans. I particularly am a huge fan. Your work in the Royal Rumble in 2009, I'll never forget. And then your promos, bashing Jeff Hardy, always stick in my mind. And then your matches with Samoa Joe and Ring of Honor was some of the best matches I've ever seen. So if you are listening, which would be flattering, once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the times that we got a chance to see you work.
Second that.
So,
and
yeah, and thank you so much for bringing back the Macho Man elbow. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for bringing back the Macho Man elbow.
Oh yeah,
I've been waiting for that.
That was awesome. I was so glad that he did that too. But on that note, I think that we are going to close this podcast down for this week. And like
Yes.
I said, stay tuned next week for our thoughts and on the Battleground pay-per-view and also the Raw afterwards. So
Yeah, I'm going to do what I can to watch it before we record again, because I won't be watching it live. I will still be in Disney, so I will do everything I can to watch it.
Yep,
before
I will
we
definitely be
record
watching
again.
it live
So,
and keeping Rue up to date on what is happening, even though he will be with his family. So
yeah, and we'll try to do live tweets while the pay-per-view is going on as well. Follow us on Twitter. We are AppenRoid at AppenRoid on Twitter. We have a Facebook account, but we haven't really done much with it, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we mostly do
we're-
most of our stuff on Twitter and YouTube and whatnot. So those are the main two avenues and social media that we're working with right now. We'll get our Facebook up and running at some point, but right now we're focused mainly just on those two social media sites. So.
Yes, yeah, and once again, thank you so much for supporting us on Twitter. It's amazing how many followers we got, and we're going to keep on going. We also have our videos, the Put It Away videos. We also have our AppenRoid Sucks At gameplays. We've been doing Need for Speed. We've also been doing the UFC game. We'll probably revisit Mercenary Kings and Battlefield sometime soon. But Adam is also Archie's doing AppenRoid's apprehensive video game playing.
AppenRoid is apprehensive at playing Outlast. So,
oh my gosh! If you have not watched that, please do, because I've seen the game already. I already know what's going to happen, and it's so funny to see Archie's reaction to some of the things. Oh, I cry every time I see it because it's just amazing. And keep in tune as well, because I am actually going to try to do my own single playing. I have a couple video games I want to play. So I just have to find the time to do it. And but as soon as that happens, you will definitely know on Twitter. But yeah, I already have a couple games. Thumbs up for Rogue Warrior if you're all about that. So.
Good Lord.
But once again, this is the longest close ever. But thank you so much for watching. We really enjoy this. But if you have any suggestions you want us to talk about, or any suggestions of video games you want us to play, go ahead and make any comments on YouTube or send us a tweet, and we'll respond and we'll let you know what we think, and we'll do what we can. This is your channel as much as it's ours. So, all right. Well, I have been your host. I am Rue, and once again, with
Archie.
Me as always,
it has been a blast.
It has definitely been a blast. Thank you so much. All hail the great Khali.
No, whatever.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.